Good morning and welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for May 4th, 2022. Today is a homecoming of sorts, long overdue. The last time we have seen fellow human beings in this hearing room has been over 2 years and 2 months ago. Had the opportunity to speak to some of our staff in recent months as they've repopulated the building last summer. And they've said it's felt like the first day of school or first day of a new job. This has been a difficult 2.5 years for all of us, for our employees, for our ratepayers, for the litigants before us. We've had to make a lot of really difficult decisions during that period with respect from everything from utility service terminations to what we had to do with arrearages that were mounting for so many ratepayers who could not afford to pay their bills during the course of the pandemic. My colleague, Commissioner O'Donnell, in the summer of 2020, used the adjective as terrifying, and it was a terrifying experience. Some of the weighty decisions that the Commission had to make with the help of stakeholders and the help of staff were not easy, but fortunately we're getting through it, and this is a sign that we've made the transition, and we're looking forward to having our litigants and parties and stakeholders and interested members of the public in the room going forward. We do have a packed agenda today, even though we only have a few items on the actual meeting itself. So. We will be in a more celebratory mood. I would first like to recognize that Governor Hogan this morning issued a proclamation signed today, May 4th, 2002, recognizing all state employees, particularly the PSC employees, on this state employee recognition today. And I'll just read a few of the clauses here. State employees have made enormous contributions to help keep the state of Maryland on track during the ongoing pandemic in the areas of public safety, human services, healthcare, education, economic development, and recreation. And they have provided services to the citizens of Maryland with professionalism, proficiency, and dedication as they perform their daily duties. We're honored across the state and the nation during this week to extend our appreciation and gratitude to all state employees for their hard work and continued dedication and commitment to excellence. And on behalf of my colleagues, I wish to extend that appreciation to the 151 employees of the Public Service Commission. I'd also like to extend my congratulations to my fellow commissioners on my left and right who have had birthdays this year, 1 year older with 1 year of more experience. So congratulations to you on both sides. With that, we will begin today's administrative meeting. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Were there minutes to approve?
Oh, we do have minutes. We have minutes last week, which was the first administrative meeting that I missed. And Chair Mindy Herman took the opportunity to break some news while I was out of the state. We'll get to that later in the program today. But we do have meeting minutes to approve from our last meeting of April 27th, 2022. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The meeting minutes are approved.
Mr. Chairman, there's one item on today's consent agenda. It's an application from Amazon.com Services LLC for approval to construct a generation station.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions on this item? Commissioner Linton, if staff responsible for this item can approach, if we have counsel for Amazon with us as well, if they could approach on the right side. It appears we do not have counsel for the applicant. Oh, we do. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. We'll begin with staff.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Michael Jang on behalf of staff.
Thank you. And if you could please enter an appearance.
This is Priyanka Joshi, representing Amazon.com.
Thank you. Commissioner Linton has questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. I don't want to take too much time on this consent item agenda, but I did have a couple of questions for the company and for the staff. I'll start with the company. Have you received a copy of the technical staff's recommendation?
Not that we're aware of.
Oh, okay. Um, Well, the technical staff has recommended that the commission approve your request for exemption to the CPCN requirements of the statute. They've asked that that be done retroactively. So in your filing, you don't actually request that it be approved retroactively. I was just curious to understand if that's something that you want, and if so, why?
Yes, we would like that. This was a miscommunication from construction team over to Amazon.
Miscommunication?
James Craig. I'm a consultant with Amazon. Uh, so this was a miscommunication between the construction team on startup of the units, and so environmental was not aware to request the exemption prior to the construction of the units.
And so you just became aware, I guess it was in February when you made the filing?
That is my understanding. Yes.
And the actual generators were built and I guess were finished in April of last year.
Correct.
So you're familiar with the statute that governs the exemptions that requires that that the commission should require that any person seeking exemption obtain the CPCN exemption prior to construction.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so have the generators been used yet?
Yes, they have.
Have you submitted any notice to the commission? Uh, According to the statute, it has to be 2 weeks before the first export of electricity. Was that done?
There was no export off of the site,
Right.
but I am not aware. I would have to get with the technical environmental staff on the project.
Okay. So I also noticed in your filing, I believe it's Exhibit 5, that you sent a notice to the members of the Washington County General Assembly and the Hagerstown City Council. That's also, it's in your filings. I'm assuming that you stand by that.
I would assume so. I do not have knowledge of that, but if it's in the filing, I would assume so. Yes.
Okay. Were there any other notices sent in addition to this one?
Not that I am aware of, but I would have to consult the environmental team on that.
Okay. So in the notice itself, it was sent through email to the parties that I mentioned. Have you heard anything from any of them? Have any of them responded?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. So it was sent on March 8th of this year. So that's just under a year after the generators have been constructed. The notice itself, in the body of the email, states that you have submitted an application for commission approval to construct a generating station, and goes on to list it and describe the type of generating station. And it concludes with stating that this notification is being provided as required by the PUA article. But according to what we also see in your filing, I believe it's attachment 4, and as you've already noted, the generators have been built already.
That is correct.
So what should these elected officials who received this notice do with it, since the generators have already been built?
That is up to their discretion, but they could file a complaint if need be, but that is up to their decision. I'm not prepared to make comment on their behalf.
Okay. All right, thank you. I had a couple questions for the staff as well. So, as I mentioned earlier, the staff, and thank you, by the way, for your answers. The staff, you've also mentioned and noticed in your filing, you've requested that the commission treat this approval retroactively. What is that intended to achieve?
Yeah, it's intended to achieve a non-protunct status and to bring the application in line with the statute.
All right. So I'm glad to see you have a copy of the public utility article. And just for my colleagues on the bench, certainly won't take too much more time, but I do feel like I'm channeling Commissioner Herman a bit and saying, let's take a look at the statute. The statute does authorize the commission. Well, first, let me back up and say, as I've already stated earlier, that the statute does require that a party file a request for an exemption prior to building and constructing the generators, if they're seeking an exemption from the CPCN provision. So I think we both agree on that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the statute does authorize the commission to waive certain elements of the approval process. Are there particular elements that you're seeking to have waived as a part of this non-protunct request?
Well, I believe what's being waived is the need to get a CPCN. I don't believe the statute approves for waiver of the process of the application, the necessity of filing before construction begins. That's why I suggested that it be treated non-protunct, which in the past, I believe that is how the commission has handled these. I noticed there are at least 12 cases in the commission's case law where water systems that had been previously built were approved non-protunct. And I believe that could apply here to this generation station as well.
Okay, so I think we both agree that the commission cannot waive the requirement that there be a filing prior to the construction for a circumstance where a company is seeking exemption from CPCN requirements.
Yes, I think so.
The statute also makes clear that that a person cannot, the commission cannot, and I believe this is directly out of the statute, it's 7201.1E, except for notice required under subsection C of this section, the commission may waive an element of the approval process under this section. Subsection C is the notice requirement that I discussed earlier with the company that set forth the requirement that the company provide information about their filing to certain members of certain elected officials in the region where the generators are to be built. So if we can't waive the filing requirement, then we certainly can't waive the notice requirement. So I guess I'm back to my earlier question that I asked the company. The notice has been sent to the elected officials. What are they supposed to do with it now?
Well, I imagine they could make their voices heard if they have an objection, and lodge a complaint or suggest that the commission disapprove of the filing of the application.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't think it's any surprise to at least anyone who's been a fan of the Commission's YouTube page that I've been concerned about the use of non-protunct or the efforts to use it, especially in instances where a party has already built a generator and is attempting to now have the approval backdated. I think in this instance, it's my recommendation, obviously, and hopefully with the Commission's support, that the parties here go back to think about and put together a different approach to how this should be handled here today or in the future. We're still within the time frame for approval of a filing of this nature. I believe in the statute it's 90 days. This was filed less than, I think, 60 days ago, so we still have some time. I'm most concerned that our elected representatives who are required by statute to receive the notice that construction is going to happen, that they have received the notice that construction is going to happen for something that has already happened. These generators, as we can see from the company's filing, are less than 700 feet away from a residential community. So I don't think that anyone attempted to do anything here in a misleading way. I don't think anyone's trying to get away with anything. So I just want to say that up front. I don't believe that the staff or any other parties have not done work that they're supposed to do. But I do think that the commission has certain responsibilities in this statute that are not waivable, even if we try to use what I have personally referred to as a MacGuffin of nunc-pro-tunc to resolve these matters. This is the company's responsibility to have these filings done in a timely manner per statute. And so it's the commission's responsibility to require that they do so. I don't think that retroactively approving it does anything. So what I propose is that this matter not be voted on at this time, but that the company be required to go back and make sure that these elected officials that are required to receive these notices receive them. And it wasn't just an email, that got caught in a spam folder or something, but just that they actually have the notice and are aware of the fact that these generators are already built. And to make sure that there aren't members of the public who, again, live less than 700 feet away from the generators, that they are not upset about it or didn't have any concerns, there weren't any safety issues or anything of that sort. And then this matter could be returned to us and we can determine if the other elements of the statute can be waived and if that waiver is in the public interest to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have some questions that may impact your proposal, may allow us to vote on this proposal today. Let me start with the company, Amazon Fulfillment. How many fulfillment sites do you have around the state of Maryland?
We do not know that number at this time.
The ballpark? Let me ask another question. Safe to say that each of your fulfillment centers, these are very large warehouse type facilities, have this type of generation on site?
Yes, emergency generation.
And on this site, you have multiple emergency units ready to go. And they've been ready to go since April of 2001. You say that they've been actually used in operation before?
Some, yes.
Okay, you need to
Apologies.
speak for the record here. How many times have emergencies been called?
I'm not aware.
Okay, who would be aware?
The regional environmental manager.
Okay. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I thought I might have been able to move forward with a potential vote today to address Commissioner Linton's concerns. However, it appears that the company doesn't have all the proper facts necessary for at least me to make a comfortable decision on this today. You stated that you haven't reviewed the buck sheet that was published on April 27th from staff?
I have not seen it.
Okay. All right. If I was your attorney, I would advise you not to say anything further at this proceeding because that buck sheet has been made aware on our website for 5 or 6 days. And it supports your position. It asks the commission to approve your application, but at this time, I don't feel comfortable proceeding with this this proceeding.
Can I ask some questions before we move it?
Oh, yeah. I do have some questions for staff, though. Mr. Wilson, had the application been properly submitted, elected officials received the notice, this nunc-pro-tunc issue has come up time and time again before this commission. What would be the effect if the commission were to call a vote today, effectively just approving the request, effective today, as opposed to approving non-protonc? Does Amazon care?
I doubt that Amazon cares. No.
I suspect that's true. I'm not going to ask Amazon, but does staff care?
Yes, I think staff cares. We'd like to see the statute be met properly.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question for staff. Mr. Wilson, what would happen if we disapproved this item today?
That's a very good question because you already have them in place. I guess you could issue an order for them to remove it and file their application and then potentially reinstall the generation. That's not the sort of thing that the law typically takes pleasure in doing, but I mean it's possible. You see that sort of thing in zoning disputes.
Yeah, it just it seems counterintuitive and counterproductive, obviously. But let me ask the company, Ms. Joshi, how many states do you have fulfillment centers in?
I would. So the facility that we're talking about today is our AMZL facility. It's a logistics facility that delivers items directly to the customers. It's not necessarily a fulfillment center.
Okay, so my question really is, how many states do you actually have facilities in? I'm not talking about vehicles delivering stuff. I'm talking about facilities of one sort or another, either logistical or fulfillment or warehouses. How many states are you operating in with those kind of facilities?
I would say approximately over 75%.
Over 75%. And could you describe the compliance efforts of a very large corporation like Amazon? I mean, Amazon's a very big company. So could you describe the legal compliance efforts that your company employs? Because obviously we're in compliance with our state law,
Right.
obviously.
Could you repeat your question again?
Yeah, could you describe generally the compliance efforts that Amazon employs to make sure you're in compliance with state law?
Right. So we have a legal team up at the corporate office. We have a governance team as well at the corporate level. We have regional environmental managers, such as myself. At the regional levels, we support either Northeast, different state levels, or we're also supporting specific regions. And then we do have site level support as well, so environmental program owners at the site level. We partner with construction team, and the construction team in this case sometimes can be a third party vendor, sometimes it's in-house construction team. We work very closely with them. We've developed checklists for them. The team is developing. I could tell you I joined Amazon's environmental team last year, mid of last year, so the team is growing. That environmental is something that we are very conscious about, and the team is continuously growing each day. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so my follow-on question would be, what are you going to do about this going forward? And do you have any others that are coming at us that are in operation that you haven't applied for a CPCN for in the state of Maryland? And what will you do based on this line of questioning from this commission today?
So I can't answer the first part of your question. I am not supporting all the sites within Amazon. However, Amazon is partnering with the sites to ensure any equipment that's purchased, even purchased before receives construction permits for their air applications. Addition to that, I do not have information in regards to what is currently on Amazon property.
All right. Well, I'm going to conclude, Mr. Chairman, but I have to tell you that a company as big as we see very small operations who have much more robust efforts at compliance with state law than I'm hearing here today. And a company like Amazon, that's troubling to me. I suspect if we do delay a vote on this today, that you're going to go get some answers to questions that you weren't able to answer today, including what else might be out there in the state of Maryland that's not in compliance with our state law. Would you agree?
I would like to say yes.
You would like to say yes.
I don't particularly support this part of the business, so I can't speak on their behalf.
Well, I can tell you this, and you can take this back to Amazon. If they don't get in compliance with state law, we're not going to look very kindly upon that. So the right answer is yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other commissioners? Seeing none, I'm going to ask my colleagues' indulgence in tabling this matter to a future date. For the Amazon representatives, please have your attorneys review the videotape of today's proceedings and be ready to answer these questions and more at a future date. Mr. Secretary, if you could table this item to Wednesday, June 1st, 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, item number 2 on the administrative agenda is a request from PTR Holdco LLC for approval of a decommissioning plan pursuant to Power Plant Research Program condition number 36 and case number 9652.
Thank you. Do we have counsel for PTR Holdco? Mr. Bevelmans. Mr. Wilson, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. DeAndre Wilson on behalf of staff. Let me begin by saying it's an honor to be the first to deliver an administrative item in regards to the reopening of our 16th floor hearing room, and I hope that I can make this item go as smoothly as possible.
More smoothly than the last one. Thank you.
On March 4th of 2022, PTR Holdco Company, LLC, filed a request for the approval of its decommissioning plan for its Fairview Farm Solar Project pursuant to PPRP's condition number 36 of the company's approved CPCN. As a requirement of condition number 36, PTO Holdco, LLC, was required to submit the plan or decommissioning plan to the Commission for approval. In PTR Holdco's original CPCN filing, the company requested permission to construct a 30-megawatt solar generating facility which would connect to the PJM system via BGE's 34.5 kV Otter Point circuit located in Harford County, Maryland. On July 28th of 2021, the Commission issued order number 89890 granting PTR Holdco's CPCN request, along with several licensing conditions proposed by PPRP, which required that PTR Holdco provide a solar decommissioning plan. Pursuant to condition number 36, B, C, and D, it states that prior to the issuance of a building permit, PTR Holdco shall implement a financial mechanism to ensure that the decommissioning costs are not borne by the state and or county at the end of its useful life or in the event of abandonment of the project. In addition, the company shall also provide estimated decommissioning costs developed by a third-party consultant to determine the amount of the decommissioning surety bond, letter of credit, or other alternative arrangement, and shall update the decommissioning cost estimate and corresponding approved financial instrument every 5 years after the issuance of the CPCN to adjust for inflation and any other necessary changes. After staff's review of PTR Holdco's filing, it concluded that the company met the requirements outlined in condition number 36 and also incorporated a 5% cost contingency, which has been used in previous cases in order to cover any unexpected costs. In our comments, staff recommended the Commission approve the company's decommissioning plan. On April 28, 2022, after staff filed its comments, PPRP filed a recommendation that the company increase its cost contingency from 5% to 10% due to unknown challenges and unexpected costs that may arise with decommissioning in the future. After speaking with PPRP and consulting with staff accountant, staff does not oppose PPR's suggestion that PTR Holdco increase its cost contingency from 5 to 10% of the total project cost, which stands at $264,000 at the moment, and financially certify for decommissioning the facility a bond or LOC, a letter of credit, and require the company to provide evidence of the appropriate security to the commission. Also recognizes that PTR Holdco is required to update its forecast every 5 years, but staff is aware that several factors could affect the decommissioning costs, such as labor shortages, restrictions imposed by the federal, state, or county officials in the future. By doing so, the commission can ensure a level of protection should the net salvage value of the project's facilities is below the forecasted salvage value.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Albert, for that presentation, as well as the very comprehensive buck sheet. We'll now turn to counsel for PPRP.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Sandra McLemore on behalf of the Power Plant Research Program, I also have with me today Jenny Rogers with the Power Plant Research Program. As Mr. DeAndre said, we are not opposing the decommissioning plan. We just have a recommendation that they increase by 5% their contingency costs, so the amount going in. So we're here and available for any questions that you may have at this time, or perhaps after the company speaks.
Great. Thank you, Ms. McLemore. Counsel for PTR Holdco, LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. David Bugleman on behalf of PTR Holdco LLC. I'm also joined by Mr. Barry Skolci, the Chief Development Officer for Protec Energy Solutions, the developer of the project. The only point I'd like to make is we've reviewed PPRP's filing, and we agree with the recommendations. So if we were to increase that contingency amount from 5 to 10%, that would adjust the required security from $264,000 to $359,000. So the company would support a letter order adopting that revised amount from the commission today. Other than that, I have nothing to add, and we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So the revised amount is a security of $359,000.
Correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions? Seeing none, I would move that we approve the decommissioning plan as modified. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 3 on today's administrative agenda is an application from Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, Inc. for authority to issue long-term debt.
We'll begin with staff. Mr. Justy.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Anson Justy on behalf of staff. On March 23rd, 2022, the Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, or SMECO, filed an application for authority to issue up to $150 million of long-term debt not to exceed 40 years from the date of issuance. If approved, the cooperative seeks to use the proceeds from the issuance to pay down the full balance of $117 million in short-term lines of credit, as accounted for on March 29th, 2022. These balances are held by the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, CoBank ACB, and Bank of America, and the balances were incurred to finance the cost of capital investment, such as in constructing new distribution, sub-transmission, and transmission lines, as well as enlarging and improving electric facilities. Staff notes the following 3 points. The cooperative has maintained an unchanged investment-grade Fitch rating of BBB+ since its last long-term debt issuance in 2018. The cooperative has indicated that it anticipates the cost of its debt issued to be approximately 3.89%, which is in line with current market trends and near its current 3.67% weighted cost of long-term debt. Therefore, effects on ratepayers are expected to be minimal if there are any. And finally, the cooperative has complied with the relevant COMAR regulations. Staff recommends the Commission grant the application, authorizing SMECO to issue up to $150 million of long-term debt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Justy, and thank you to your team. We'll turn to counsel for the cooperative.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Mark McDougall on behalf of Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative. With me today is Beth Kennedy, SMECO Senior Vice President of Financial Services and Chief Financial Officer. We are here to answer any questions that you might have. We have no comments.
Thank you, Mr. McDougall. Taking a look at your balance sheet at the beginning of the year, it appears that you had $581 million in long-term outstanding debt. So the request here today is to add an additional $150 million to pay off effectively some of these short-term instruments. After those short-term debt is paid off, do you expect any balance of the $150 million? Is there any remainder?
There is a remainder, but I would like to turn it over to Ms. Kennedy to address how that remainder is to be spent.
Thank you. That was my question. Ms. Kennedy, good morning.
Good morning. I appreciate you having us. So yes, at the date of filing, the balance on the short-term lines of credit was approximately 128, or at the end of last year, 128.5 million. That balance has since come down. However, that is due to the inability to get the supply chain issues where we can't get some of the supplies in a timely manner as we could have before. But the additional funding will be used to fund operations. I expect within the next several months, any additional funds will be used.
So between $20 and $20 million of this debt offering will be used for O&M or just operations?
Well, normal operations.
Normal operations, okay. Would any of that balance be used for investments?
So we may invest in short-term notes until we actually need the cash, just so it's not sitting idle.
That was my next question. Thank you, Ms. Kennedy.
Yep.
Just to be clear, I just wanted to make sure that this money is not sitting in an account somewhere.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. My colleagues.
Yep.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Kennedy, Mr. McDougall, for being here today. So the buck sheet says a $150 million increase in long-term debt represents a 25.4% increase in long-term debt less current maturities on the cooperative's balance sheet. Two of SMECO's debt indicators, long-term debt to total equities and long-term debt to total assets, appear relatively high compared to other industry companies. However, both figures have been on a downward trend over the previous 3 years, as indicated in the table. A high long-term debt to total equities ratio is often associated with heightened investment risk. So since this is an a customer-owned cooperative, me being one of them, it's not an investor-owned entity, the risk lies with the cooperative members. Am I not correct?
That is correct.
So this is an increased risk on the members of SMECO. Is that not correct?
It is correct. However, I would say that not doing the work required and incurring the debt would be a greater risk to the reliability of the system. I will also point out that those ratios, although I understand why staff use the IOU companies in Maryland because there is not a co-op as large as SMECO, the capital structure of a cooperative is significantly different than that of an investor-owned utility. Our ratios that we use for our investors and our financial institutions are different ratios than what are outlined in the notes. And we are well above our minimum ratios for our financial institutions.
Okay. And SMECO is one of the largest co-ops in the nation, is it not?
Correct.
In top 10?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Depending on the year.
depending on the year, yeah. All right. Well, Southern Maryland is a growing and dynamic region of our state, has been for a long time, has a lot of important state assets and facilities. And we need you to be healthy.
Agreed.
But I need to have some assurance that the finances at SMECO are not heading in the wrong direction. Let me just ask you this. With regard to the paycheck protection money that was intended for small businesses a couple years ago now, that SMECO received, I think it was in the vicinity of $8 to $9 million.
It was $8.567 million.
Give or take a penny or two.
Correct.
What happened to that? How was that utilized?
Well, we used it for funding payroll. However, when the forgiveness was received, it was treated as a grant per the preferred accounting methodology.
I see. So even with assistance like that covering $8.5 million, I mean, I understand you need to retire some short-term debt, but this seems like a large increase in the obligation of the co-op, 25% increase to debt.
It's not out of line with the previous long-term debt requests. In 2018, it was 135 million. I don't recall specifically what it was, but the past three long-term debt requests were of a similar amount.
What will your total long-term debt, should we approve this, be? And should you realize this long-term debt, what will the total cooperative long-term debt be?
Well, it will be the 560 million plus 150 million.
Okay. So walking towards $1 billion pretty quickly is my point, I guess.
Understood. Utility business is an expensive business, and we are doing everything we can to make sure we stay healthy. We want the service to be reliable for our members.
I will say this, that the reliability of the system at SMECO has greatly improved and is appreciated by me. It's just a matter of how much can the cooperative members carry, because we're the ones who are going to carry the obligations for this debt.
Certainly. And I don't think we are going to take reliability to an extent where it's not worth that last little bit of, you don't want to get to 100% if it's going to cost you far more than it's worth.
I used to tell our previous chairman, Mr. Chairman, that you can have as reliable a system as you want if you're willing to pay for it.
Exactly.
So, all right, thank you. Thank you for the answers.
Certainly.
Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we approve the cooperative's application for authority to issue long-term debt in the amount of $150 million and direct the cooperative to file reports as required by COMAR's Title 20, Subtitle 7, Chapter 4, Regulation 2, Charlie 3. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye, with reservation, Mr. Chairman.
Noted. And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Thank you. We have no additional official business on the docket today. However, we do recognize the impending departure of Commissioner Mindy Herman. I've been known to say that there's in this line of work, there's no finish line except the respective retirement dates of the individual, and we've arrived at that day for the commissioner today. She's been a utility executive, a white shoe law firm partner, and an independent regulator, but more importantly, she's been a friend and a mentor. She served an illustrious career. And over the past 4 years, I've had the privilege to work alongside of her, benefited from her years and decades of experience in utility rate cases and utility practices and operations. Mindy is leaving very large shoes to fill today, although I know she has great plans once she departs the commission. And Bill, I'm glad to see you here today. You're her partner in crime as they plan their next big adventure. Mindy's taking care with each and every one of the hundreds of decisions that I've been able to vote alongside of her. She's been a mentor and a champion, particularly of the female staff at this agency, and she's had an open door for any staff member who has had concerns or frankly needed a little bit more mentorship along the way. So there's just so many qualities, and she will be missed. Commissioner Herman, thank you for your service. Commissioner Richard.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just join you in just expressing the joy I've had in working with you. You've been, I think, someone we've all learned a great deal about this business, about insights that you have brought to every single decision we made. So I really can't say it much better than how the chairman just did. But I also wish you, enjoyable future. Hopefully I'm just a couple years behind you, and also enjoying some of all the world has to offer. So again, congratulations.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bittersweet day for sure. But so I'm going to miss the counseling. My consigliere is leaving me, and I'm not going to have her wisdom from a legal standpoint and a wealth of legal knowledge in this space. But I'm very happy for Bill and Mindy to move on to other pursuits, and we all hope we can get there someday. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have fair wind and following seas. And Mindy's not just a good technical advisor; she's a friend. And we've gone to Bill and Mindy's house, had broke bread and ate crabs, and I'm gonna miss her a lot. So, with having said all that, without getting too mushy, I wish you the best. Thank you.
Commissioner Linton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was hoping that after our robust AM this morning, Commissioner Herman perhaps would change her mind. But I don't think I was successful, so unfortunately. Mindy, I've known you since I first started working at BGE in 19. Excuse me. And since that time, I've even though we haven't always worked in the same place, I've had a chance to monitor and watch your career grow and see how you've remained true to the legal industry and true to Maryland. Both of us, when we finally got the opportunity to sit on the bench together, I know for myself, when I heard that you were the other commissioner nominated, my first thought was, oh, great. I mean, it's one of the fears about getting a nomination like that is that you think you've been in the industry for so long, there's so many people that you've interacted with, somebody's going to go there and say, oh, that bum, how could you put that person up there? But, to not only get the opportunity to to serve, but to know that throughout your time, your reputation preceded you. That is a testament to the character of you as a person and your commitment to following and supporting the law and just being good to people. And so I appreciate that. I know I'm reflective of that. They say you shouldn't meet your heroes, but I've had the opportunity to work with one for basically my whole career. So I thank you very much. I think unfortunately you're leaving, but I can tell you that the commission's in pretty good hands. Just from the staff that we have and my colleagues here today, we're not going to be as good, but we'll try and be even better. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Herman?
Rebuttal.
I guess it's the last time. Thank you all for your kind words. That's very kind, and thank you all for coming. It's a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to push that away a little bit. I'm just going to say thank you to a few people and then, try to end this without breaking down. But first, I think my parents are trying to watch, at least from Florida. So thanks to them. I think that they instilled a real commitment to excellence and also showed me the value of hard work. So, Mom and Dad, thank you very much. To my children, it is my daughter's birthday today, so happy birthday, Mia. I hope you have a wonderful day, and hi to Harry. My kids put up with a lot. I was gone a lot throughout my career. I got up very early, but I was distracted sometimes, but just to let them know I'm free all the time now, so I'll be calling them constantly, like, oh, hey, what's going on? They're just going to get sick of me later in life. My husband, Bill, is here, as a couple of folks mentioned, and he also put up with a lot and continues to put up with a lot. Some very early mornings when I was commuting to DC, 4:30 in the morning. As for those of you who know Bill, he's just way too nice for me, so I'm very lucky to have him, so thank you. To my colleagues on the bench, thank you again for your kind words and the respect and all the hard work. I will miss you all. I will not miss long hearings and rate cases and talking about cost of capital and that sort of thing. I'm not going to miss that, but I will miss all of you. I will note Jason in particular as a chair. He has been, I think, excellent for the Public Service Commission. He's brought a level of legal discipline and professionalism. He's, the trains are moving on time, so I think you've done a really remarkable job with that. So I'm grateful for that, and I think everybody out there is grateful for that. For the Commission staff, thank you all for all the hard work and the commitment. You all are amazing. I wish you all the best. And to all the folks who are on the outside looking in, these people work really hard, and you have no idea all the other work that they do that you don't see and that they touch. So appreciate them, and they are terrific. To the senior advisors, Molly, Morris, Amanda, who unfortunately couldn't be here, Lisa, Joey, you guys are terrific. Thanks for all you do. You've been invaluable. And finally, to my colleagues and friends, some of whom have traveled from pretty far away, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for the friendship and the camaraderie. It's been... Sorry, I almost made it. I've learned a lot from all of you, and it's really the people that makes your job. So, thank you. You guys have been great. Thank you.
I would invite everybody to stay for a reception to honor Commissioner Herman. That will begin in approximately 10 minutes. With that, today's meeting is now adjourned.